CN Park Terminal's rail unloading facility. Anybody know where the largest refinery in the United States is? Baton Rouge, ExxonMobil. You know where the biggest one's going to be in a few years as soon as they get finished spending a lot of money? Pascagoula, Mississippi, Chevron. 900,000 barrels a day projected throughput. So, I thought 120 rail cars will bring in about 83,000 barrels of oil. So they need about 4 of these to get their capacity, fill the capacity. So we're at the end of the line between Alberta, Canada, and Mobile, Alabama, for the CN Railroad. So that's why we're the target. We're the place that they can bring it down, put on the barge, put it in a pipeline, put it in a ship, send it to Pascagoula, send it to Asia, send it anywhere in the world. It's only 600 feet from residential housing. It's pretty close. They've got their environmental permits. They're good to go there. It doesn't take much in Alabama to get a permit. Without a piece of paper and send it in, they'll give you a permit in Alabama. In Alabama, we don't seem to require people to have anything to do with having capture the vapors off your tanks, capture the vapor off your transfer points. They're doing a rail unload facility up in California. They've got vapor recovery on every transfer point. They've got blast walls around the place. They've got the thing in an area where people won't get hurt. Here in Alabama, just put it downtown, right next door to the residents. It makes a difference. And the other thing they're planning on doing is 2 big pipelines underneath the Mobile River. One to take the bitumen across the river to their storage facility, where they basically have no vapor control. So if you think it stinks over there now, just wait until they do this. And everybody in this room is going to be breathing this stuff. What's it contain? Heptane, benzene, toluene, all the carcinogens. So it's really great stuff to be breathing for our children and our people who live here. So you can imagine the potential for an explosion, a catastrophic event. Anyway, they plan to load both Bakken crude, that's the stuff from North Dakota, that's basically got things like propane, butane, natural gasoline, diesel fuel, heating oil, a very highly flammable materials. The same kind of blew up in Ontario, killed 47 people. They take the condensate back to Canada to dilute the next load of crude oil coming to Alabama or Texas or wherever we're going to ship it to. So they're going to basically have the 120 rail car unloading facility, steam heat where they can basically steam these cars out. They'll be coming down to probably 15 to 20% natural gasoline because they want to minimize the condensate in the cars, get more bitumen. Bitumen's what the people in Chevron want. They don't want the condensate. Right. What their long-range plan is basically have a brand new rail car, it's a DOT 111 car. It's insulated and heated. Has coils up inside the car that you can pump steam into it. If you can load raw bitumen in Canada and bring it down here, that's the most efficient way to do it. And you get it down here, you heat it up,
viscosity down,
and you pump it out. If you look at the DOT 111 tank cars in the United States, most of them are 30, 40 years old. They're not designed to transport high volatile, high flammable materials. They're designed to transport crude oil. Okay. But you know who owns 40% of all the rail cars in the United States, don't you? It's called Berkshire Hathaway. Do you think they want to spend the millions and millions of dollars it would take to retrofit all those cars and replace them? Not in this lifetime. The Transportation Safety Board is basically encouraging the conversion of the old style cars to the new style, but there's been no mandate that says you got to have it done by this date. So it's basically not going to happen. All the new production will go to Canada. We'll get all the old cars in the United States. They're bringing condensate from a well over in Louisiana or Mississippi. They can bring it here, put it in their tank cars. They're also going to have a couple of 2 docking facilities, one for Panamax vessels. That's the great big vessels that can go through the widened Panama Canal. That way we can take this oil that's coming from Canada, send it to Mobile, and send it to Asia. So we become the transport point. And tankage, right now they've got about approximately 2 million gallons worth, 2 million barrels worth of storage across the river. They intend to build another 2 million barrels worth of storage. Plus the people that I think it was another outfit here in Mobile wants to build another 2 million gallon storage facility up on the old IP property. So we'd end up with probably around 6 or 8 million gallons of storage in our neighborhood. That's where the rail yard's gonna go. Yellow arrow going across the river is where the 2 pipelines will go. The next yellow arrow is where the existing pipelines they have go from basically ARC terminals, their storage facility, up to another transport facility where they can take it and put in a vessel, put in a barge. They also own some property across the river over by the Africatown, and they've got pipelines that connect those tanks to the tanks across the river. They connect those to the pipeline that goes out to 10 Mile Station. Then 10 Mile Station goes through Sims, across Big Creek Lake, tributaries, over to Pascagoula. Look at where the residential people live. It's between the edge of the trains where they're going to be loading and unloading condensate and trains. 600 feet to the nearest house. If they had an explosion, you couldn't make it out of there in time.
It's actually worse than that, because the main municipal bus transfer station is right behind the roof of, actually the ticket office is in the old GM and terminal. And the passengers gather right there in that line that leads up to the yellow line. It's right beside the railroad tracks. I mean, it's within spitting distance.
It's within 75 feet.
Yes, and lots of people gather there during commuter travel time.
That's where the megabus picks people up, going to Atlanta. If you look at where it is in terms of residential, where it is in terms of people gathering, transportation points, it's a terrible place to put a facility. If you look at the Pipeline Administration Safety, they say 1,200 feet minimum to a residential area. We're 600 feet at the minimum. That's what the Pipeline Safety people say, 1,200 feet. No, we don't even come close. If we had 120 rail cars full of natural gasoline and there was any kind of incident, somebody dropped a wrench, somebody had left a valve open, a number of things. You know, a transfer truck drives in there and his brakes go out and it hits a rail car. Just anything. Or we could have a terrorist attack. Put a guy up on the 165 bridge with an RPG. It would take him but a minute. You'd have a major catastrophe here in downtown Mobile. This is the CN track down through Mobile. Included in this zone is the Mobile Art Museum, Municipal Park, the St. Ignatius School. Go to this website right here, explosivecrudebyrail.org. There's a guy he's a mapping guy. He put this website up. Type in your address, and you'll see if you're in the blast zone. Here's some things I think about when I think about rail cars coming to Mobile loaded with condensate leaving to Canada. That could be Big Creek Lake. This track runs across Big Creek Lake. Think about 3.5 billion gallons of natural gasoline in Big Creek Lake. We'd all be looking for something to drink. What's coming out of your faucet be on fire. This railroad crosses Schindler's Road, crosses Moffett Road, crosses Ward's Lane, crosses a number of places. We could have a derailment, an accident that could be a major disaster. There's almost anybody in this room. Think about Moffett Road, right over Moffett Road, 965 cross. This train runs right underneath that area. If they ever had a derailment in that area, a semi-truck hits the train going across the road, you could wipe that road out for months. Downtown Mobile, we could have a situation downtown Mobile that kind of sound like they had up in Ontario. God forbid. They're going to take the Alberta tar sands, put it in a rail car up there someplace. They're going to have a little bit of natural gasoline from somewhere down in the United States, because they don't have any up there. It's been hauled up there or pipelined up there to mix in this thing at about 20% dilution. Then they're going to take this stuff and bring it to Mobile, Alabama on the CN rail track. 120 cars a day, 3.5 million gallons a day. Then they're going to take this stuff and heat it up, pump it across the river, put it in a tank. When you start unloading, you can have volatile organic compounds in the atmosphere. And you pump it in the tank, it'll release more of it. And then you're going to take this stuff and pump it to another tank, one further up the road. And in the meantime, you're going to add some diluent to it, because you can't put it in a pipeline at 20% side, 20% diluent. It's got to be 30% diluent. The stuff coming in is called rail bit. Rail bit is 20% dilution of bitumen. The stuff that's going to be in the pipeline or the barge or the Panamax ship is going to be 30% diluent. So that it's, you got to have different dilution rates to you do different things with it. So all the stuff going through Sims and the pipeline going across the Big Creek Lakes will be 30% natural gasoline. It'll be going through a pipeline over to the refinery in Pascagoula. And what they're going to do once they get the cars empty, they're going to take some natural gasoline, pump them full, and send 120 cars back up the road, back up to Canada to repeat this process. Back up the road. Anyway, the other thing we talked about, just touched on, was VOCs, what it means to the community. If you look at, basically diluted buildings out there, the VOCs come out of this stuff when you heat it up. It's gonna raise the ozone up in the area. Right now, we're at about 0.074 parts per million in the Mobile area versus the EPA standard 0.075. So anyway, if we start diluting bitumen starts being unloaded in Mobile, I really believe we're going to exceed the threshold value and be declared an endangered area, an attainment area, so to speak, which will force somebody to do something about VOCs. Benefits, this is, if you look at the facilities out in California, somewhere between 12 and 25 full-time jobs paying probably 12 to 15 bucks an hour. That's going to be a benefit for our community. And the increased profits for the Canadian tar sands producers, that's going to be a benefit, not necessarily for us. Increased profit for ARC terminals and CN Railroad. Reduced shipping costs for the Chevron refinery. That's going to be a benefit, not necessarily ours. Increased barge and vessel shipments out of the Port of Mobile. That's going to help the Port of Mobile. Mr. Lyons will have more revenue. Maybe he'll get a bonus. One-time engineering contract for the Cowles, Murphy, Grover and Associates people. They're going to get a benefit. And there's some contractor will get the benefit of building this facility. Beyond that, I don't know what the benefits are. I couldn't think of any other ones. Risk. And some of the risks I see is a major derailment, an explosion, contamination of our drinking water. That could be a major problem for everybody in this room. And for now and for the long time to come. Increased health and safety risk to our citizens, air quality problems, all the potential problems we have in the city with an explosion. Reduce air quality, increasing the risk for major petroleum spill and a 100-year storm surge, build another 2 million barrels worth of storage. You just got that much more potential to have a problem. Anyway.
There's another risk we haven't discussed yet, and that is all of these things we're talking about are fossil fuels, folks. And they're coming here so they can go someplace else so they can be burned and the products of combustion be dumped in the air that we breathe and further wreck the climate. That needs to be included in the risk assessment.
Recommendation is, we got to stay in touch with our representatives. Support efforts to educate the Planning Commission with what's going to happen, what could happen. Support an ordinance for the minimum 1,200-foot setbacks. I think it ought to be more than that. 1,200 foot is what the federal recommendation is. We at least ought to get that much. As far as churches, homes, and residential areas and so forth. We need an ordinance about VOC control. That's probably a no-brainer in my mind. And we need ordinance about the petroleum storage tanks, being anchored and proper pile caps and so on. So if you have enough ordinances that require them to spend enough money, a lot of these companies will go somewhere else where there's no ordinance. Basically, the only thing that protects the people in the community is the zoning that's enacted by the people we elect. If we don't have zoning that puts the setbacks at a large enough distance, we got zero protection. We all say this is hopeless, but I don't think it is. Think about 1970 when they were drilling the Mobile Bay. The people in this community said we don't want the drill mud at the bottom of the bay. And there was a lot of work done to make the oil companies take their drilling mud and put it in a barge and haul it somewhere else to dispose of it versus dumping it overboard. That procedure is now a worldwide standard in terms of how you drill with drilling mud throughout the world. It started right here in Mobile Bay. So we do have the power, we just have the will. And it takes everybody in this room and a bunch of other people to make that happen.